I was talking about this to my AI room today, but they had pulled back to this 20 SMA, 50 SMA level, and it's really prominent to see this very positive reaction. Those that were in the Momo room heard me talking this morning to be focusing on this 224, 222 price range for a pivot on Apple, and I'll kind of explain why. The idea here is that in recent trading, we've seen a lot of resistance being presented in the stock. And then obviously we broke above this level. And since we've broken above this level, we've had some pretty defined support. So when we see a kind of, focal point by the markets, previously utilizing that level as a ceiling, which is resistance, and then now turning that into their new floor, that's kind of demand following the stock price up. And that's usually a very bullish sign. So we're looking for progressive opportunities in Apple. It wouldn't surprise me to see Apple really start pushing right back towards that 233 level, which is highlighted all the way up here. And that's going to be very critical. This is where we have seen a now triple top range where they have rejected pretty directly off of. So if they're actually able to break that level, it's certainly where short sellers have been, initiating positions and looking to press the stock price down. We could actually get a nice little catalyst from those short sellers getting squeezed out. And that might be enough to help Apple push to all-time highs, which in turn should help the Qs revert back to that level and, of course, break out. The SPY has been trading at all-time highs here, but the Qs, the Russell, still have yet to break those thresholds. And in my humble opinion, I think the market is really poised to have a really good month. Historically, October is a really good month, but that's usually because historically September is one of the worst months to trade. I believe this is like I read some weird statistic. It was like one of 5 times where we had finished at these levels positive in September when we had traded at these levels or these percentage ranges near their all-time highs. So we're seeing historic behavior being taking place. So yeah, I appreciate all the kind comments. Look at all the people tuning in. John Pro V1, my man. Yeah, I'm a golfer here. K-Web. So yeah, we're just discussing these Chinese stocks. And look, K-Web is certainly just in every sense of the word, pretty parabolic. I'll pull this up. We got to look back on at least a 3-year time frame. And K-Web right now is at a pretty defining moment. It's the 200 SMA on the weekly chart. So that's a pretty big threshold. It's pretty evident. This is a 3-year chart. So we haven't even sniffed on this level in the last 3 years, and here we are. It's pretty prominent. K-Web gets that acceptance above $40. It really opens the door for them to work towards that upper 40, low 50 range. And, again, I have a saying in terms of stocks, once they stop making new lows, they're only going to be going in 2 directions. They're either going to go sideways or up. So you can see we've made this kind of sub play. This is a trading formation that one of my clients had nicknamed the sub because we recognize this as a strong reversal sign. Sub stands for shut up and buy. And you can see that consolidation breakout, which is showing strength. I'm going to turn this into a 5-week chart or 5-year chart on the weekly. And now you could see that, coming from this, longer consolidation range, if we really break through this level, there's just tremendous upside, and it's really fairly unobstructed. And, it's not to say that we're going to get up here anytime soon, but, the thought process is that we're finding resistance. We're seeing the reaction to resistance. And if we break through resistance, it should be perceived as bullish. And that certainly could trigger more momentum, more demand. This risk on in Chinese stocks, I don't believe is going to be short term. For those that are familiar with David Tepper, one of the best performing hedge fund managers out there, he's a horrible sports team owner, but he's an incredible hedge fund manager. He's basically going all in on Chinese stocks right now. He even talked about kind of foregoing his risk parameters to get very aggressively involved. And it wouldn't surprise me in the next round of 13F filings that we see a plethora of hedge fund managers that have been loading up on these Chinese stocks. So right now, K-Web, in my opinion, needs to kind of break through this 39 threshold, 40 threshold. It'll open the door possibly to the high 40s, low 50s range. Definitely on watch. CRM, let me pull this back to the daily chart here. Big fan. We just closed out our CRM position. This has shown really bullish signs, and I'll explain why. You can see that it's been getting knocked back pretty aggressively here at the 200-day moving average. And what's really transitioned is that they have found what's known as acceptance. So they have gotten above that level, and now they're holding that level of support. And it's very similar to kind of the thesis that I was breaking down in Apple, where previous resistance act as support is a very bullish sign. This is now being anchored at that level. And as again, when the floor continues to rise, you got to think like a skyscraper. We're just ascending one level at a time. This right here was a gap fill, which was around this, I would say around this 277 price. As you can see, we're trading at 280s right now. Upside is open to around 286 to around 289. If you're ever wondering, folks, the major highs are always going to be critical levels. The reason why is, well, history tends to repeat itself. So what did it do the last time it was at this level? The stock had cratered down to this price point. So, it becomes a really important inflection point for stock and stock performances. If it gets above this level, there's still another gap to fill. So the buyers still have motivation to see the stock go up, as there's some very transparent targets being presented. How do I see the effect of the war in the Middle East on the markets? I'm not sure it's going to have a dramatic effect on the markets. I think that certain sectors can certainly benefit. Energy is one of them. We talk about timing and being blessed with timing. FANG, we got in here, on Monday, and certainly just it's gotten crazy, and that's kind of like the short-term effect. We could see volatility, of course, continue to rise up. So you may want to look at, some VIX products as a potential hedge, or if volatility starts to ramp, we could see these VIX products really spike up very aggressively. It could have some effect for what would be known as flight to safety assets. That would be, products like GLD, for example, gold bidding up here. TLT, which is the long-dated ETFs, that would be a flight to safety play as well. And then, of course, we should talk about the defensive names. LMT, with one of its best performing days yesterday in the last few months, respectfully, since they had that huge breakout bar on July 23rd that really initiated this explosive move up. LMT yesterday traded in a almost $30 range. My goodness. And they average $8.40 a movement. So you can see the effect of war and what it's done for, defensive names like LMT, RTX, NOC, maybe even like General Dynamics, like GD, of course. I would say, at least in the near term, these names are going to have a lot of focus. But, when news like this hits the wire, we have to understand that the market makes very quick corrections, both up and down. And what they're doing is essentially really trying to price in, right, what is happening in the now for future reference. And that's what the stock price is. The stock price is not a reflection of current valuation, but future valuation. We've always heard that, back then Amazon was overpriced, Tesla was overpriced. But remember, these were reflections of the future in Tesla. And certainly, of course, now Tesla, making billions upon billions of dollars every quarter, and Amazon being Amazon, they've effectively have been correct. The market was correct in terms of their future valuation. So, you have to be very careful about chasing after this momentum. Ideally, if you're looking for these opportunities, you're looking for these pullbacks, focus on points of references, have a rhyme or a reason, not just buy, but have a rhyme or a reason, define your risk, define your reward. It keeps you straight, because when we trade blind, we're not sure what to do. And when we take the stance at extremely aggressive, oversaturatedly bought highs, you could get yourself into a lot of trouble, especially when you're buying options and it starts breaking down. These options are really expensive because the implied volatility exploded. Now all of a sudden the stock is leaking and you don't know what to do. You don't stop out. And then next thing you know, we have $10, $15, $20 contracts trading at zero. You don't ever want to be in that position, of course. So, make sure you have a plan, have a reason to be in and out in terms of these references. But great questions. Keep them coming, folks. So again, I like Apple. Apple's definitely one of these names you're going to want to watch for a rebound. Microsoft now as well is rapidly approaching a very critical price level. They just lost the 50 SMA, which is fine because the 200-day moving average might be of more importance here at 415. They didn't have too much interest previously at this level, but you could see on their scope that they've been ascending and making a nice little up-down trajectory. So we want to see it continue. And so the basis of bullish trend is going to resume, in my opinion, meaning seeing that stock come up. It would make a lot of sense right around this 417 to 415 price that the stock would start finding some demand here in the near term. Even with Tesla and their pretty disappointing numbers, they got near their 20 SMA and they immediately started to pivot up. So, you could see that there were some really aggressive buyers stepping in here in the near term. Palo Alto. Yeah, so cybersecurity has been pretty lethargic, quite honestly. I haven't really just seen the demand in names like Palo Alto and CrowdStrike. But Palo Alto is trying to settle. They're at the 100 SMA, right around this 328 price. So that's probably where you're going to want to watch for the floor. Unfortunately, they're also getting squeezed out at resistance right around this 336, which is the 50 SMA. And then you have the 20 SMA, which 100% has been a major knockback point for this stock. You could see if you follow my yellow line, that's where they've been kind of hooding the price and not letting it go higher. So I'll tell you right now, if it covers above that level, it's probably going to lead to a really nice up move in the very near term. But right now the cybersecurity names, the cloud names, they're in a bit of a slumber. There's been some activity, but the demand hasn't been sustained. It's been very short-lived. You could kind of see it here on the hourly chart where, the stock will bid up and then it gets washed out. It gets bid up and then it gets washed out. So, it looks like there's participants. It looks like there's demand, but it's very short-lived. And that's the only problem in the near term. So it's kind of the same thing with semiconductors, folks. Michael Dell, Dell was one of the names I was very interested in today at that 112 price. It was really important because that's exactly where that 200-day moving average, I'll expand the chart here just a bit. And you can see how it just came down to that blue line and instantly popped up. Now, Dell, in particular, Michael Dell, is going to be selling upwards of 1.2 billion shares in two different tranches. Senior note offerings. So, obviously that's going to have a negative effect on the stock price. But, if we could get Dell to really hold this level, again, when stocks start holding support, it usually means that they're trying to bottom out and pivot to the upside. So do me a favor, guys and gals, if you like this information and you like what you're hearing, smash that like button. It helps us get more traction, obviously. It gives us a little bit more of a floor for participants to find our live stream, especially if you find it informative. I'm trying to do my best to at least give you some idea, some price levels to watch, because it's the same. There's a counter effect, right? The stock doesn't hold that floor. Well, it's really speaking volumes in terms of how bearish that is, and in turn, well, instead of looking to buy calls, why don't we look to buy puts? So that's always important. Yeah, I appreciate you all. It's a tough week too. It's not like this week we didn't have a lot of news. We had we have the ADP numbers. We're gonna have the jobless claims numbers and ISM data. We're gonna have the NFP numbers, which is the non-farm payroll. And obviously the market's been acting pretty violently in a sense to these jobs numbers recently. So we're pretty packed with economic data in the very near term. I believe we're going to have the CPI data coming up here soon as well, and these are all important because we have this like gap in space in terms of time between the September FOMC meeting and to the next FOMC meeting, which is going to be in November, and that's going to be right around the election time. So I don't know if they're I was expecting to see a little bit more depth and demand in some of the election plays, but obviously the news is trumping over everything, including technicals right now, and the market is just kind of trading by the seat of their pants more than anything else. SMR is like SMR. I like SMRs and SMRs. So let's take a look at the SMR here, right? New Scale Power Corp. Yeah. So, for me, if I was to look at a stock like this, it certainly looks like it's coming out of slumber, looking like it's trying to reverse trend. I have a indicator that I absolutely love called the ATR trailing stop. It is now bullish bias. The stock is above all the moving averages, so short-term performance is very bullish. And this is the linear regression mean. Now, again, I gave a shout out to Howard earlier. He's actually the one that taught me this indicator, which I fully incorporate into both my swing, day, and long-term outlooks. And anytime the stock starts anchoring above this level, it opens the door for them to make that, really big move towards the longer-term trend thresholds. And that's what the stock looks poised to do, break above 1310. Not much to slow it down until that $17 price. Let's look at BWXT since you guys are throwing out some tickers. BWXT obviously is actually performing greater. They've, if you take a look here, it looks really interesting, but if you look very closely, it's hard to see. But that was the old resistance. And when they broke above this level, they immediately turned that old resistance into the trampoline. Look at how they were holding that support, and then they spiked up off that level, and here we go. So trading at 113s. Let's see. Let me pull it up to the 3-year highs. 3-year highs. It almost looks like it's going to be all-time highs. All-time highs. I don't know. Short-term skies have opened up. I would say 120 to 122 effectively is going to be on watch. NNE is pretty funny. This is a stock that I was actually trading in relation to, my micro caps, which is a part of the Momo Stocks room. And I just remember we had a client that decided to take this position on this break here. And like a week later, he was up like $10 to $12 a share. And so you could see that they created a beautiful W formation. For those that don't know me, a W formation is what I would signal as a trend reversal sign on the long term. As you can see, we're on our YouTube page. If you actually go to our YouTube videos, you can find my video on this W formation as well. But they're poised to look to try and break out. And again, pretty big upside, unobstructed, at least in the near term, to around 24. Perhaps even as high as 30. It's a lower float name, so the profile is really good. Can it break out? Well, I mean, look, it went parabolic once. Why can't it go again? Okay, I appreciate those that are smashing the like button. When do I do this wheel of name thing? Now? Soon? Do I do it live? What do I do? I don't know what to do. Let's see here. I'm going to click on this link. Do the wheel, they say. Okay, everybody. So check this out. I'm going to pull this in to the stream. Hopefully you can see it. Why am I a little laggy here? Everybody see this? Look at this wheel. Okay, so to win some free swag, folks, I just got to click to spin. Okay, so good luck, everybody. And the winner is, oh my God, it is Herbert Shiskin. All right, Herbert. How do we get their information? Guillermo is so close. I'm sorry. Listen, I don't mean to be so, there you go. I'm assuming someone's going to reach out to you. Listen, I'm just here to be a pretty face on the stream, so I don't know how it goes. But if they tell me, we'll figure it out. Or actually, what's the email that they got to email us at? Is it like Prosper Swag? What's up, Gene? There you go. There you go. Thank you, Michael. For those that are wondering, Michael works behind scenes. Obviously, he is he's a miracle worker for one, and he's got the patience of a saint dealing with both myself and others here. So, congrats, Herbert. I'm really happy for you folks. We're not going to keep you too long. I believe these streams go for about 30 minutes plus, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be here tomorrow. Again, I believe it's a big holiday, and Scott's not going to be available. So, tomorrow we'll have other topics. We'll kind of discuss the market conditions. Maybe I'll have some more trade ideas here for you as well. Certainly, if you want to join us tomorrow and you have tickers, names that I didn't discuss, do me a favor. Just write down a few. Bring them to the stream. Let me prove my worth and kind of showcase what I can do here. Yeah, that's the guy here. Those that are interested in the AI program, yeah, feel free to log in or to call in. But otherwise, like I said, I hope that this information does help and that I hope that this is certainly informative. We'll see how the rest of the trading day goes. The market's starting to bounce back a bit. So let's see if semiconductors can lead the way. We'll see what the effects of overnight trading, especially with the conflict in the Middle East, is going to do for our markets tomorrow. And until then, I just want to say, I do. Okay, so very quickly, AMAT was one of my names that was on my morning watch list, John, because Herbert, because we were at a very critical pricing level. I like the break. If it gets above this 206 price, I believe that it's going to make a quick shot to around 211. The breakout zone is going to be around that 212, 211 price, and I believe the upside could be as high as 230 from there. AMD has actually been a pretty decent performer. They were actually really strong and leading the way along with SMCI today, but they kind of rolled off a bit here when the markets turned down. But if they close above the 200-day moving average, pretty optimistic they're going to work their way back up to 168 to 170 and eventually work their way for the gap fill here. That gap fill is at 177. So again, a lot of positive signs that we're starting to see. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to go up. We need the markets to go up. But, today, considering that the NASDAQ's the only market that's positive right now, that bodes well in the near term. I will say that AMD is being propped up on the 200 EMA at the hourly chart. So again, as long as we hold these levels as floors, I'm always going to be very optimistic and very bullish here, okay? Derek Scott will be here. I don't know when the next show is, but I believe Friday, maybe Monday. He'll be back here shortly, I promise. This is his show, not mine. I'm here just to fill in for my fellow colleague and brother. But he will be back here soon, I promise, all right? And I just want to say thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for your participation. And thanks for hanging out and spending some time with this guy. I greatly appreciate it. And until next time, everybody, peace and love.